Hello all. Right now I'm going to go over just a little bit of syntax review so that people can understand exactly how this is working. And there, we did have, I did get a few questions on the first lab about how syntax should be organized and how you should go through this process. And the basic crux of it is that everything has to run in order. If you forget to do something up here, all of the issues that you forgot to do up here will continue to be referenced farther downstream, as I refer to it, and any mistakes up here won't run because the computer will be looking for variable names or for calculations or for things that haven't been in there. So this is a good example, and someone in class graciously allowed us to use their code, so this is really cool. You'll note that I actually changed this. This is the file location for the survey data from Lab 1 for me. So this is a little bit altered from what I got from one of your peers, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and read in this data, and everything looks good. And I'm going to toggle through really quickly. And what you can see is these are all the variable names that read in from the original data file. So you can see this CTE that, quite frankly, I can't even remember what that's supposed to be, but tenure all misspelled like this. Liberal arts teach useful skills. We corrected a bunch of these. Ed.att right here, we also changed. And so the very first thing that happened was there's this code right here to rename the variables. And of course we code this out. We could say rename variables. As you might recall, this is sort of the freebie code. And I think that what happened here is, let's say we select this and we run it. And we go back here. Oh, sorry about that. We need to be selected into dataset 1 for that to work. You can see that this is activating dataset 1. So let's try this again. And now you can see there aren't any errors down here. And if we go to dataset 1, which is right here, you can see that these names were corrected. College too expensive, lib arts useful skill, education attainment rather than ed.at. All of those changes that were made that were given to you in this code. This person also did formatted the dollars in income, and that looks like that ran pretty well. Everything's looking good. But then as we get down here, there's a bit of a problem. And effectively what this person did is they likely did not run this code up here before running this code down here. So what's going to happen is when we're going to try and define the variable properties right here, and we're going to label CTE with strongly disagree, disagree, neither agree nor disagree, agree, and strongly agree, which is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. This right here is not going to work because it is going to be looking for CTE. And as you remember up here, we got rid of CTE for college too expensive. So watch what happens when we run this. And of course, you can always pull up this window a little bit so you can see what's going on down here. When we run this chunk of code, and keep in mind these were all done together, so you need to run all the way down to execute. So we're going to run all of these. So it's going to be looking for CTE, which no longer exists, this weirdly spelled tenure, which no longer exists, lib arts value, which I believe no longer exists, party A no longer exists, and lib arts teach useful skill. We're going to hit play or run, and it is going to gin up a bunch of errors. So it said the add values label command specifies an unknown variable name. The name will be ignored. So basically, all of these codings of strongly agree, disagree for these variables. So let's pick the top one, CTE, which is now college too expensive. It did not get these labels. Does that make sense? If it had gotten those labels, so let's just say that and you can always copy these variable names. Let's say that we had done college too expensive there. And we got rid of all of these others. And you don't need to know exactly how to do this, but I'm just showing you for the sake of conversation that we were going to run just college too expensive. And all I did was I changed that variable name to something that it's now going to recognize. Let's see what happens. It says execute, and it looks like it worked. I didn't get any errors right here. And then when you go over to your data window, you'll see that college too expensive now has these labels. And of course, you could always go double click on college too expensive, click right here. This again is the sort of descriptive statistics, and you're going to see those labels. So that code worked once we were able to show it a variable that it had seen before. Now the same thing happened down here, where these were attempted to change the type of variable. So here we were, this student was trying to change dine out, that was all capital letters, to a scale, go to movies to scale, air travel to scale, all of these to scale. The problem was that those variables no longer exist because dine out became dine out week, go to movie became movie theater month. So again, this code to rename the variables needed to be run before the code to alter anything. And anytime you're going to reference these variables farther, what I refer to as downstream, so here's the variable level of scale, none of these are going to work. And so this is sort of a minor failure of, it's a mistake, I don't want to call it a failure. This is the process of trial and error, but this is certainly something the computer is not going to recognize, and this is going to cause your sort of concept of reproducibility to break down. So that's what we're talking about, and in the future, just be really careful to run everything in sequence, to build something out, to run it, to build the next thing out, to run it, to build the next thing out, to run it. And if you keep building in that sort of order, you're going to end up with really nice, really clean, reproducible code.